Hello and welcome to today's episode of Book Lounge by Libby. My name is Joe and I am so happy you're here. As always, we love talking about books and fun things, and today is one of y'all's favorite kind of episodes. And who better to talk about what's coming out next month than the incredible, the illustrious Emma. Hello.
Hi, Joe. So nice to see you.
Oh, it's so nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Happy to. You know, I always am happy to talk about books.
If there is someone I can guarantee already has a list ready before I even ask for a monthly book picks episode, it's you, without a doubt.
Oh, that's fun, though, to be one of your go-tos if you need someone. But I'm excited to be here, and I kind of can't believe we're talking about April books.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, it was the longest January of recent years. And all of a sudden, it's almost March. And at the time that our friends at home are hearing this, it's almost April, because this will, of course, come out at the end of March. But we are still a few days away from actual March.
I know.
Recording is wild.
It does feel like time is a flat circle or whatever Matthew McConaughey says in True Detective.
Whatever they're telling us, time isn't real. Everything is fabricated. But today, if this is your first time joining us for one of these type of episodes on Book Lounge by Libby, hold on, pause for Roscoe.
I was like, wait a second.
You're like, what is that?
I hear his pause.
Roscoe is now with us in the studio. You know,
Roscoe.
Right. Hi, bud. If this moment makes it in the final edit, everyone say hello to Roscoe in the comments below. But if you are new here, welcome. We'd love to have you join us. So consider doing all of those, podcaster and YouTube things I'm supposed to say, but I don't want to bore everyone. Today, we will be looking at the books that are releasing in the month of April and sharing with you the ones that we are very likely to add to our reading lists. So, of course, for the sake of time, we can only bring you so many. I'm sure there's a good 80 books we'd love to talk about, but today we'll each give you 10, give or take. So, do you care if I kick it off?
Please, kick it off.
Okay. I have to start with a shout out. This was in my most anticipated of 2026. So I'm just mentioning this is the month when TJ Klune's standalone book, We Burned So Bright, will be out. End of the month, April 28th. Keep that in your list if you are excited for it. Just the quick bullet points for everyone. If you haven't tried TJ Klune, but you've heard me gush about him over and over, this is a short one. It's a thin book for him. It is a standalone, and it's a end of the world road trip story. I think I can convince even Emma to read this with a road trip story.
Yes, I think so.
So We Burned So Bright. This won't be my first pick, but just so so I don't get called out for not calling it out. If you missed 2026, our hopes are most anticipated. There you go, April 28th. So my first full description for all of you is Bodies of Work by a friend of the pod, Clay McLeod Chapman, and this will be out April 7th. I love Clay's writing. I love how fluid he is in his writing style. I think when we first talked to him and Rachel Harrison, and we were there for What Kind of Mother, the vibe of that versus his book last year, Wake Up and Open Your Eyes, to then how this is reading to me. I love that he can play around in all sorts of spaces, and they're all incredible. So this is a murderous artist is haunted by the spirits of those he has killed in this surreal and chilling supernatural revenge novella. Love to get into an author with a novella, so if you haven't tried them before, there you go. But this is from the acclaimed author of Ghost Eaters and perfect for fans of Joe Hill and Delilah S. Dawson. At 66 years old, Winston Kemper has always been a non-entity. No one notices him. His simple existence barely registers for those who come into contact with him. Some call him feeble-minded. He is a janitor at the local church, a groundskeeper by default, and that's it. No friends, no family. When he's done with work, he returns home, a remote single-room apartment located above a garage, and that's where his true work begins. Winston is a collector of voices, and his magnum opus, The Butterfly Girls, is a sprawling epic of untapped imagination. It has no single canvas, no particular frame. It is everywhere, scribbled on the walls, the floor, and in countless notebooks. Winston is creating a fantasia which exists in words, images, and blood. As part of his art, he has been murdering forgotten women, poor souls who slip through the cracks of society who no one's looking for, mothers, sisters, daughters to someone, but no more. Winston takes their lives, their voices, but now he can hear to them. They whisper to him. They talk of revenge. Winston Kemper might not believe in ghosts, but he's about to learn they are very real, and they are very, very angry. A surreal and dreamlike novella about the ghosts of our pasts and the dangerous, obsessive pursuit of art from the true master of horror. So again, that is Bodies of Work by Clay McLeod Chapman, April 7th.
That sounds so good, but it might be too scary for me.
Yeah. As we were going through, I'm like, yep, nope, Emma, you should not read this one. That is not your, I can
That's
get you
the
to read horror, but
thing.
that's not
That's the
the kind
thing.
you're in.
No, and I love Clay's writing, but sometimes he does go obviously very scary,
Yeah.
which is, I'm not I'm a novice horror reader, so it's got to be a little bit gentler for me.
You indulge me in it. But right, it's more the you need the speed of Scream or even
Yeah.
The Ring. You need that kind of pop film version of horror.
I do, yes. I really
Which is
do. But
great. Those are still some of my favorites, even though I am reading the dark, heavy,
I know, really creepy, scary one, but it looks so good. The cover's so cool. But yeah, you might have to just let me know.
I'll report back
I think
on that
it's
one.
probably too scary, but
And even reading through that, I was like, oh, I did pick this and I know why, but ooh.
Yeah.
Warning, everyone.
No, that looks really good. I think my first pick won't surprise anyone who has ever listened to an episode that I've done. But I do put myself in this pickle where I'm trying to explain a fantasy sequel to you. And
my favorite Emma pick,
goofy
a sequel
names,
in a series.
And also that there's no context. And so I will preface and say, if you have not yet read Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry, do. It's a fantastic fantasy series. So it's certainly in the romantasy space that we've been hearing about a lot. If you like Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros and similar, Devney Perry's fantasy debut from last year, not debut, but fantasy debut, was fantastically done for a new fantasy series. And so the much anticipated second installment, I'm finally getting there, sorry, a little rusty, is Rites of the Starling by Devney Perry, and this is out April 7th. So this picks right back up in where we left off with Shield of Sparrows. We have our main character, Odessa, who is a princess journeying across a cursed realm to find the truth about her family, only to discover that her quest intertwines with the fate of a lost warrior. Of course, to set the stage a little bit without maybe spoilers, if you do want to check out the full series and haven't yet, naturally, we have kingdoms on the verge of destruction. We have huge, scary monsters that migrate coming soon. We have a devastating attack, and our main character, begin spoilers, has now been separated from the man she loves. Again, begin spoilers. Sort of lost, terrified, homesick, hunted by monsters, driven to exhaustion, and kidnapped by a powerful priest. The only thing keeping our main character going is the little girl that's counting on her to keep her safe. So all kinds of stuff has obviously set up in the second book. We kick right off in the middle of the action. It's hard to talk about it without getting too in the weeds, but what I can say is there is excellent romance, there is excellent fantasy here, really cool world building, really cool, intricate kingdom politics, dynamics, monsters, magic, all of the things that I personally enjoy in this type of book. So I'm really excited to see where book 2 takes us now that we've established this world. So that's Rites of the Starling by Devney Perry. And again, that's out April 7th.
And that is a ringing endorsement. I mean, if the tropes that you love are being delivered in a way that you want to know what's next,
yes.
They can respond to us right now, but I want to be everyone give it up for Emma. We're recording on a Friday. At the toward the end of our day, and we're both morning people.
Yeah.
So we've got like everything stacked against us. And then for your first book, you said, let me say second in a series.
Let me do a sequel.
But I love that as a moment to be like, oh, I haven't had a chance to talk about book one.
Yeah.
And that's the like, I loved
Yeah.
book one. I'm ready for seeing what this brings. So I think that's helpful. My next pick is also out on April 7th. It will seem different from what I usually pick because it, spoiler alert, is a little sci-fi. This is The Subtle Art of Folding Space by John Chu. And it is the exhilarating science fiction debut novel from Nebula and Hugo Award-winning author John Chu, where he channels unhinged physics, generational trauma, and the comfort of really good dim sum. This isn't your usual jaunt through quantum physics. Ellie's universe, and this one, is falling apart. Her ailing mother is in a coma. Her sister, Chris, accuses her of being insufficiently Chinese between assassination attempts. And a shadowy cabal of engineers is trying to hijack the Skunk Works, the machinery that keeps the physics of each universe working the way it's supposed to. Daniel, Ellie's cousin, has found an illicit device in the Skunk Works, one that keeps Ellie's comatose mother alive while also creating destabilizing bugs in the physics of this universe. It's not a good day. If she can confront her mother's legacy and overcome her family's generational trauma, she just might find a way to preserve the Skunk Works and reconcile with her sister. But digging into her family's past is thornier than it seems, and the secrets she uncover will force Ellie to choose between her family and the universe itself. So again, that is The Subtle Art of Folding Space by John Chu, out April 7th.
You said that's not your usual pick, but I see from
All
that
the
description,
elements.
all the elements, why it is in fact your pick. So
Even as I was reading it, I'm like, Emma's going to call me out on this because it's true. Like, that is my favorite way to tap dance in genres that I don't usually read in.
Yeah.
Because I know I've said it here before, but like I love Ready Player One. And so when you've kind of got that like insidious overlord whose threatening way of life, like that element of that speaks to me. But the family dynamic kind of like drama, trauma, generational, and I love a quest. So and this is very much just like a quest story. And so this is where I get to go like, I'm eating good. Like everyone across all genres is doing some sort of quest narrative in recent years, especially with the like super popular rise of D&D. Everyone's ready for some form of that. So it's nice when I can find those. Oh yes, I'll be having that moments.
Yeah, no, it does sound like a wonderful one. And I, of course, love anything that has a little bit of cheekiness.
Always bring me the cheeky.
Yeah. I was going to say my next pick is, I think, our usual pick in that it is a mystery. And what I found interesting about this, obviously, is, well, I
This
guess
is the one I was looking at, Emma, because this is the one that I was going to put on my list, and you had beaten me to it. The only person when I plan an episode that ever beats me to a title is Emma.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Well, no, and so I felt like this was certainly a title that would go either on your list or my list. And because I'm just hemming it on, you're like, what title? What title? The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clark. And so originally when we first heard rumblings of this title, Evelyn Clark and who Evelyn Clark was completely unknown. And so a lot of folks were trying to figure out who it was, if it was ghost written, if it was a pen name for somebody. And so it was revealed ultimately in the lead up that it is a co-authored novel by Kat Clark and V.E. Schwab. And so this is something that I thought was really cool from the jump, even without knowing that element. I mean, we do like a little bit of added like intrigue and mystery around the publishing world, but certainly anything from V.E. Schwab I know is going to be worth a look, and Kat Clark as well. So this, I'm excited to see how this actually plays out. And this follows Arthur Fletch, one of the world's best-selling novelists. He's a reclusive genius known for his iconic protagonists and fiendish twists. When 6 struggling authors are invited to spend a weekend on his private Scottish estate, private Scottish island, beg your pardon there, they arrive to discover a shocking secret. Arthur Fletch is dead and his last book is unfinished. I mean, already we've got a lot of setup here that is absolutely perfect. So, desperate to publish the novel, Fletch's agent and editor have summoned these writers in the hope that one of them will imagine a worthy ending for his final book. To sweeten the deal, they're offering an irresistible prize. In addition to ghostwriting the last chapter for a mind boggling sum, they will also help the lucky writer successfully relaunch their own career, guaranteeing future bestsellers. The catch, the writers have just 72 hours to finish Fletch's magnum opus. It's the perfect plot. All it needs is a killer ending. I love this type of setup. It's, a Scottish private island, like a mysterious author figure, a death.
Oh, it
And
speaks so well to you, like from location alone. But
yeah,
I've also been finding myself reading a lot of books with this like reclusive retreat or authory moment.
yeah,
I'm thinking of like either How to Tell or How to Write a Horror Story. It came out last year. And then I just read The Writer's Retreat. Like that
yes.
kind of, and I know this, well, those two were very similar. Like those you could package together as like similar veins, where this is like adjacent. And I don't know, I'm very much feeling that's very much part of my mood reading right now.
Yeah, no, it just sounds really good. And I've certainly been
Mhm.
in a romance, I wouldn't say romance rut per se,
Mhm.
but I have been drawn back more to mystery and thriller than I have maybe in recent memory. So this
It's exciting.
immediately was something that I can't wait to dive into. So The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clark is also out on April 7th.
Love that. I am realizing my second pick I skipped over, but that works really well because it fits beautifully with your last book. This is The Escape Game by Marissa Meyer and Tamara Moss. This will be out on the 7th. So far, that's our hot day. It's a YA mystery suspense thriller, which Emma knows better than anyone that I love to gobble these up. I don't know. Maybe it was all the Pretty Little Liars that I watched that rotted my brain, but I love this kind of like YA group murder mystery. Maybe it's the Scooby Gang within me. But this is an unforgettable YA murder mystery set in an escape room themed game show by Marissa Meyer, and number one New York Times bestselling author of The Lunar Chronicles, and Tamara Moss, rising star and acclaimed author of the Lindhang series. It's all fun and games until someone ends up dead. 6 months ago, season 4 of The Escape Game ended in horror when contestant Alicia Angelos was found murdered on set. Now, season 5 is underway, and new contestants are ready to put their skills to the test, solving the show's trickiest escape rooms. There's Addie, the cryptographer, Carter, the math whiz, Beck, the wannabe game master, and Sierra Angelos, the girl who got away with her sister's murder. Or so everyone believes. But Sierra's not just here to win, she's here for justice. When the contestants begin uncovering clues that hint at the identity of Alicia's true killer, it becomes clear that the stakes aren't high in this competition, they're deadly. If these teens want to win and survive the game, they must solve the biggest mystery of all: who killed Alicia Angelos? Again, that is The Escape Game by Marissa Meyer and Tamara Moss, out April 7th. It sounds so me, right?
It really does. And the fact that one of the pull quotes for it is Karen M. McManus
Oh, of
from
course it
One
is.
of Us's line, I was like, yep, we're just like collecting infinity stones of YA thriller. But no, it sounds so good.
It's like that, to your point earlier of like being a little cheeky, that's like, this is, for me at my big age, it's cheeky nonsense.
Yeah.
Um, that doesn't take anything away from it. This is going to be brilliant.
No.
But I also know when I was in the teen age group reading this, it would have been my personality for the week that I was on it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's so good. And sometimes you just need something that really does take you out of
I've
life,
been
of
truly,
reality.
I need the escapism. I need to step away for a moment. You know,
Mhm.
times are stressful and things are always coming and going.
Yeah.
But I also think right now, this year, I've been trying to bully myself into reading outside of my genres more often. And so it's really nice to have these kind of like painfully me palette cleansers. I still follow my DNF rules. It's not the if I go to read The Old Man and the Sea and I get 20 pages in and I go, I don't want to do this, I'm not going to do it, but it brings me back to center, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
No, and I think that that's more than fair because you're certainly trying to challenge yourself from maybe sticking to your
Being
preferred
so
comfort
narrow
zones.
sometimes, yeah.
But I think that that's also good if you want to like reorient yourself by just like having a nice, what you consider palate cleanse before you challenge yourself again with something else.
Exactly. I think it's exactly what you were saying. Sometimes I just feel like, have I shoehorned myself too hard? And not that that's negative, and not to sound negative about that. It's more the like, I want to adventure a little more and find what else I enjoy in the book world, because we are like blessed and highly favored with good books that we
Yeah.
love in our genres alone. And you watched me learn that I loved horror on the show. And so then I dove so far headfirst into it. And now I'm like, I wonder what my other genres are. So I'm test driving genres, or I'm test driving books right now.
No, but I think that's important because I think what we both learned at a certain point was like, right, I don't read horror at all.
Yep.
But I do read Rachel Harrison, who's
Exactly.
an auto-buy author. Every single book she publishes, I will have in my collection. So I do think there is, to your point, something to be said about trying new things, even if it doesn't work out, still
Right.
try new things.
Exactly. Still try new things. And you know what'll fix a rut better than like just shaking it up. Just
Exactly.
like you were saying before that pick, getting out of romance for a little bit just to remember all the other things we love.
Exactly. I'm like, speaking of getting out of our reality.
Yeah.
My next pick is American Fantasy by Emma Straub. This is also out on April 7th. I didn't organize my books by publishing date, but apparently that's the heavy hitter day for April. This is from the New York Times bestselling author of This Time Tomorrow, an irresistible story about what happens when your teenage fantasy comes true after you're already an adult. So when the American Fantasy cruise ship sets sail for a 4-day themed voyage, aboard are all 5 members of a famous 90s era boy band and 3,000 screaming women who've worshipped them since childhood. Couldn't relate to this at all. Feeling slightly out of place amid the crowd is Annie, newly divorced, turning 50 with an empty nest and here on a lark to appease her sister. Yet when the lights come up and the idols of her youth begin to sing, something is unlocked. Call it memory, call it nostalgia, call it the chemical reaction of hormones, hope, and sexual reawakening. Between the slushy alcoholic drinks, the familiar music, and the throngs of middle-aged women acting like lovesick teenagers, Annie finally reconnects to a long submerged part of herself. By the time she meets one of the band members, not just a celebrity, but someone in need of a friend, she has accessed a new sense of possibility. In a smart and incisive book packed with laugh-out-loud reflections on fame, aging, marriage, and middle age, Emma Straub delivers a richly textured story that shows us real passion is never truly lost, that what we love makes us who we are, and that deep meaning can sometimes be found in a sea of screaming fans. Oh, it just sounds so good. American Fantasy by Emma Straub. Again, out April 7th.
That's so fun. Very important question.
Yes.
Would you ever go on a cruise?
I have been on a cruise.
Would you go again?
I've actually been on 3 cruises.
Whoa.
Wait. Is that right? 2? No, 3. It's been 3.
Wow.
To be fair, 2 of them were family vacations in my youth, so I didn't have a choice.
Right.
And then one was
You were on the Disney cruise. Totally.
One was a goofy college-age spring break cruise. And so no, I would never go on a cruise again unless it was for something perhaps extremely cool or related to a fandom that I was really into. But certainly like if this was a Backstreet Boys cruise or something, maybe.
just total curiosity, because I wouldn't.
I know.
I don't
you
like
would
being
never.
trapped. I would never. I don't like the feeling of being trapped.
No.
And being on a boat there's nothing more trapping than that.
Yeah, in the
I also
middle
have
of
like
nowhere.
a fear-based respect for the ocean.
Yeah.
So There's like
Well,
1,000 no's for me in there. And like the whole, pandemic took away my ability to want to be near anything
in a
that's a buffet
crowd.
or people.
Yeah. No, I agree. And so I think we can just read about it instead.
Exactly. I will be picking that up. And I see you're American and I raise you. My next pick is American Spirits. And this will be out on the 14th. We have a different date now. This is a love letter to pop music. American Spirits charts and icons fall and an obsessive fangirls rise. 38-year-old Blue Veller has finally achieved the critical acclaim she's been long chasing. Over the last decade, she's released 6 studio albums to mixed reviews, landing her somewhere between performance artist and niche legend. But her latest album, Blue's Beard, a cheeky reference to the subreddit fanatically dedicated to her suspected secret relationship with longtime show producer Sasha Harlow, has rocket launched her reputation. Blue hires nerdy superfan Rose Lutz as her assistant to handle the pressures of the upcoming tour. When the pandemic shuts down the tour, ooh, wow, talk about timing. However, Blue decides to hole up in the Redwoods with Sasha to make another album. An aspiring singer herself, Rose is frothing at the mouth to be in an isolated cabin with these two legends. But what begins as a creative retreat spirals into a flurry of chaos and betrayal, culminating in a tragic act that changes their lives forever. Smart, entertaining, and edgy, American Spirits is a compelling exploration of the dark side of fame. Again, American Spirits by Anna Dorn, out April 14th. Uh-huh.
Ooh. As I'm like, what is this? Is like mystery, but like
It's listed as fiction lit,
obsession,
which
but
I
like
think in this case
literary.
means they couldn't decide how to like
Yeah.
genre it.
Yeah.
From the cover art and the font choices, it's got so much of like a niche pull to me that it's a little like American Beauty. It's a little like there's a lot of reimagined vibes I can see in here that this is like the almost a thriller kind of thriller. When you've got
Yeah.
that kind of like psychological intrigue, but it's not a psychological thriller. I don't know. I'm very curious about this because, again, this is my like tap dancing into similar things I love already. But
Yes. But I like obviously the like obsession and like
yes,
fanatic cabin in the woods.
uh-huh. We love a like a Joe Goldberg moment, basically. So
Yeah.
right. And fandom.
Yeah.
We've talked about fandom time over time. So this is yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes and I've got some hopes on this one.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Joe Goldberg because
Uh-huh. We
I
get a
am
new
reading that
one.
book right now. The prequel. So
Oh,
not an April release, otherwise I would have mentioned it, but
it was just a good reminder that I'm like, oh right, I need to go get my net galley.
yeah, yeah. So my next pick, I'll actually say what it is this time, is The Radiant Dark by Alexandra Oliva. This is out April 28th. This is from the SJP Lit imprint of Xando, which is Sarah Jessica Parker's literary imprint.
That's
So
cool.
just know, she's a big reader. She's got quite an influence in this space. So I wasn't surprised to see that this was one of her books. So it's March 1980, and Carol Gerard and her husband are living an ordinary life in a small town in the Adirondacks. They've just had their first child, and though Carol is struggling with the challenges of new motherhood, her future seems clear. Until something extraordinary happens, an inexplicable flickering of light in the sky, which is ultimately determined to be communication from intelligent life on another planet. But these beings are 11 light years away, and nothing is known about them other than the fact that they seem to know we exist too. And so begins a decades-long exchange of messages with this mysterious, faraway civilization. As humanity reels from a shifting understanding of its place in the universe, we follow the stories of the Girard family. Carol, whose fascination with this other life sparks a desperate search for spiritual meaning. Michael, her loyal son, who finds solace not in the stars above his head, but in the ground beneath his feet. And Ro, Carol's bright and ambitious daughter, whose childhood goal to work in interstellar communication will evolve into something far grander. Tracing 5 decades of love, loss, ambition, and self-discovery, The Radiant Dark is a stunning examination of a family navigating their lives with the knowledge that we are not alone. And so it's literary fiction, but
I was
there's some
literally
myths there.
I
So
was literally unmuting to say, like, and this is why
yeah,
we never give up on literary fiction. You
we
and
don't.
I,
We
not
don't.
not
Right,
not
we
grand
don't.
you. Yes. We never give up on literary fiction because I'll say it for the 18th time this episode. Sometimes it becomes the placeholder of we don't quite know where to put this because this is not technically sci-fi because the elements that make sci-fi are not what's happening in this book, but you have the taste of a different genre. You have elements from other things. So sometimes when we're wrong, it's because it ends up being a beautifully layered book. This is a parfait rather than, what we assume the worst of.
No, and I think what I was going to say, so we're circling
Oh,
back to my
good.
last thought, is sometimes I like to be contrarian. So if we have a glowing review from Sarah Jessica Parker, or it is a Jenna Reed's book club pick, I immediately am like, oh no, then it's too popular or something. I don't
Yes, no,
know.
the same thing happens to me. It's the like when when everyone's talking about it or like
Yeah.
when you see 800 news hits on it and then you see that it's lit fic, I tend to be like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay, that's not
never
for
mind.
me." Yeah,
But it's interesting because sometimes it will have that effect, or
or
I'll
the
want
flip
to
side.
immediately like know what the hype is about. So it's
Right.
really
How fast did
just
we clamor for intermezzo once we
I
saw
know.
SJP holding the galley?
I
Like,
know. So it really is, I mean, the mood reader in us.
right.
We go with
It's
the wind.
it's powerful.
Yeah.
This is Thrall by Rebecca Mahoney, and I know you love a vampire story. In Thrall, a young woman looking for a transformative college experience is bitten by a vampire and must team up with his other living victims to hunt him down. 23-year-old Lucy Easting has at last broken free from her grim home life and is ready to truly live. But her long awaited new beginning at Rollins University isn't what she expected. After attending the first campus party of the year, Lucy awakens the next day with a memory block and 2 puncture marks on her neck. She tries to piece together what happened that night, but every lead brings her to another dead end until she receives a handwritten note from the campus radio station inviting her to call. When she does, the host's soothing voice over the line confirms her worst fear and the simplest explanation of what's happening to her. She's turning into a vampire. Lucy teams up with the show's host, who narrowly escaped an attack her sophomore year, and a beautiful archery champion who, while exactly Lucy's type, is as likely to shoot her as kiss her. They believe their friend with the cold hands is responsible for the disappearance of several women in town, and they've been tracking him via the airwaves since long before Lucy arrived. As the vampire's sway over Lucy grows and his plans become clear, she realizes she must fight for a future of her own, or she may not have any future at all. Again, that is Thrall by Rebecca Mahoney, out April 21st.
As
Uh-huh.
I'm just like interrupting you, because I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I
Yeah.
not see this ad? Immediate ad. Yes, yes, yes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. This is the
Yeah.
like, your last pick was a little more my speed, but will also work for you, and vice versa here. Because
Yeah. We did a
this is to
switcheroo.
my taste, but this is definitely more you.
Yeah.
And so I saw this and I was like, I can't wait to see your reaction to it.
Oh, I immediately just added that to all of my tags. I need it now.
And the cover is like,
It's good.
I'm gonna say it's camp. Like the cover is camp.
It's
It's
campy.
it's like overproduced in the best way. I say that with full
No,
respect. Like there's
yeah.
so much going on and it's incredible.
It's it's giving these vibes.
Oh,
You
yes. For listeners only, Emma is holding up the
Oh yeah.
Twilight edition of Wuthering Heights. If you'd like to see the gorgeous cover, please watch on the YouTube channel or Spotify. And in a few months, Apple Podcasts will be hosting video on their podcast platform. So soon you can enjoy video anywhere you're listening. You're welcome, by the way, for telling me that
Yes.
that existed.
Thank you.
Send you one TikTok, and 20 minutes later, you're like, ordered.
I ordered it. I found it. I tracked it down. I needed it. Yeah.
Didn't know that that was a thing. But
Well,
anyway,
now I need
yes.
this book.
I we've got a while to wait.
I know. Okay, I have it in a new I've opened it in a new tab. I will come back to this.
Perfect.
Okay, let's see. I want to keep the vibes up, but I think a lot of my next picks are romance.
Ooh, I know. We're
So
gonna have to break from the current vibe
we are.
because I don't even think I think the rest of my picks are like similar vein, but it's
But
the clear Joe's trying to read different things.
yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
okay. We front loaded with our like
we front loaded
creepy,
with our expected.
our vibey ones. I will try to keep the vibes going before I pivot to romance. So this is your warning that the rest of them are romantic picks. But this next one is Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth, out April 21st. Now, speaking of comfort zones, I love a Sally Hepworth, wow, book. She's written The Soulmate, The Good Sister. If you look at her backlog, you'll recognize some of her books. She's the type of author that I liked. I can always count on it to be good. And I can always count on her books to be addictive. Like you will read them in 48 hours, which may not be everyone's cup of tea, but sometimes I just really want a good thriller that I can read.
It's a good problem to have, though. And it also means that you can plan for that. Like, if you've got a
Yeah,
long weekend coming up, if you've got a few days off, or you need that feeling of going to work tired Monday morning because you stayed up a little too late Sunday night reading. Sometimes we need that, like, reset.
exactly. And so, right, I do feel like Sally Hepworth books are like that for me, where they're always like a good, satisfying read. I don't think Mad Mabel will be any exception to that. And here we have Elsie Mabel Fitzpatrick. She's 81 years old. She's lived on her idyllic street, Kenny Lane, for 60 years, longer than anyone else. Aside from being a curmudgeon who minds everyone else's business, few would suspect that Elsie has a past that she's worked exceedingly hard to conceal. Because when it comes to murder, no one ever suspects little girls or old ladies. And Elsie Mabel Fitzpatrick, once a little girl and now an old lady, has a strange history of people in her life coming to a foul end. When a new little girl, talkative, curious, nosy, moves into the neighborhood and stops at nothing to befriend Elsie, her carefully constructed life threatens to come crashing down as the secrets in Elsie's past start coming to light. Who was Mad Mabel 50 years ago? Who is Elsie Fitzpatrick today? And if the past has a habit of repeating itself, who has the most to lose? Told with Sally Hepworth's twists, humor, charm, and heart, Mad Mabel is a novel that weaves past and present together through the power of justice and redemption, and all the way to its stunning conclusion. So I like a past, present,
Yep.
like
We love a time skip.
we like
Yeah.
a time jump. We like delving into someone's secrets.
Yeah.
And with this, it sounds like there's more to the story on all sort of layers here. So Mad Mabel, Sally Hepworth, April 21st.
The most concise thing I can say to that is hell yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's so fitting for you. I know I'll also enjoy it. And as you're talking, I'm like thinking of 7 different people I could recommend that to who need that as well. So that sounds incredible. And you've always had such good things to say about Sally Hepworth's books that it's like, cool.
Yeah.
That definitely sounds like a good path in.
Good. And this cover is a little bit of a new style for her books.
For her books, yeah.
And I really like it. So I'm intrigued to see what her next few releases look like.
Yeah, I do like that cover. I like that kind of like Mad Men adjacent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, love it. My next pick, still in the vein of things that we're not surprised to hear come out of my mouth. This is The Neverending Book. It will be out April 21st from Naoki Matayoshi and Shinsuke Yoshitaki. It is a runaway bestseller in Japan already. The Neverending Book is both a standout illustrated fable and a love letter to books. If you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you know I'm a sucker. Every time an author changes up a format a little bit, I'm like, why'd you do it? I want to see how you're executing it. So very excited for this. But this follows an aged, near-blind, book-loving king who sends 2 of his subjects out into the world to learn about unusual and magical books. 1 year later, they return to tell the whimsical, tender, and touching stories they've learned. Among them are a book that runs faster than a cheetah, a pair of books that are identical twins, a diary shared by two children with painful secrets, a photo album left by a dying father for his granddaughter for when his granddaughter gets married, and the most romantic story in the world. From the comically irreverent to the heartrending to the heartwarming, the never-ending book delves into all that a book can be, forming an enchanting compendium that reveals the ways in which we interact with books and the importance they hold in our hearts. Imaginative and playful, The Neverending Book is an unforgettable love letter to literature. So again, The Neverending Book by Naoki Matayoshi and Shinsuke Yoshitake, out April 21st.
I just said off mic, ooh.
I know it's not my usual, and they definitely got me with the the dual perspective kind of like illustrated component and written component. But reading that, I get why I'm drawn to it. And that's the
Yeah.
kind of like every once in a while you need like a that's so not me, but there are elements of it that are so me.
I think that's perfect. It fits in nicely with your picks. And I always appreciate that I learn about new books and new authors from you every time. So
Thank you. I force people to see new things. Even if they don't try it, they have to hear about it.
no, but I think that's important to have a little
Yeah,
bit more of a well-rounded view.
definitely. Even if they consider it, even if they read a description or reads, I'm the king of never having seen a movie in my life and then watching someone do like a 3-hour video essay about a film or a franchise and still never watching those movies, but then being like, well, I know everything about it. So even if that's what you do, even if you end up like looking it up later or reading someone's review and going, oh, cute, you still have it's still impacted your appreciation of the reading world.
Exactly. No, I think that's perfect. I'm going to say, well, okay, I'm just going to go in order. I'm not going to deviate too much. My next pick, true romance here as we get into it, is The Paris Match by Kate Claiborne. This is also out on April 7th. But Kate Claiborne is always just a standout author for me in the romance space. And I'll read this and you'll immediately know, Joe, why I was drawn to the premise of this. So, a woman tests the limits of her so-called amicable divorce when she flies to Paris for the destination wedding of her former sister-in-law, only to butt heads with the deliciously gruff best man. Okay, premise. Joe, you may know the personal history. Jordan and
Uh-huh.
I were both in a wedding party, and that's what kicked things off. So I have a soft spot, personally, for listeners. My husband and I met being in a wedding party, so I
Oh,
like
right. You
that
said that and I was
setup.
like, okay, done, get it, got it.
It obviously worked for me. So I do like when a book has a good like best man maid of honor setup. So here we have physician Layla Bailey. She spent over a year telling herself she's moved on from a painful but amicable divorce from her college sweetheart. Staying friends with her ex seemed like the mature thing to do. But when Layla's invited to her former sister-in-law's destination wedding in Paris, where Layla once spent her own romantic honeymoon, she knows her commitment to maturity might be her worst enemy, especially since her ex isn't attending alone. The only thing that could make the week more difficult is getting through it without the distraction of the wedding. But when what Layla thought was a harmless conversation about the choices of her younger self leads to the bride getting cold feet, Layla finds herself facing down the groom's mysterious, taciturn best man, Griffin, who will do anything to make sure this wedding happens. Since she broke it off, Griff demands she help him fix it. Going along with his plan to alleviate the engaged couple's doubts seems like Layla's best chance at maintaining a good relationship with the family she once called her own. But as she learns more about the past heartbreak that's driving Griff to help his friend, she gets closer and closer to confronting the true depth of her own pain, while finding herself more and more willing to risk it all again for Griff. So lots of things happening here. The sort
Uh-huh.
of best man, bridesmaid working together to get these people down the aisle, good, bad, while also confronting their own issues and then having chemistry with each other. You guys, I like romance for the predictability for a reason, but The Paris Match by Kate Claiborne just sounds Chef's kiss, perfect.
It's good to have predictable though. Like I I love horror for the element of like thriller that like I love to see the twist. I love to see what they do that makes me think. But horror has beats the same way that romance has beats. And there is something comforting, even when it is an uncomfortable book, to know like I'm getting what I expect. Also, I love the power of a romance author to give the male love interest a name like Griffin.
Yeah.
You're like, "Girl, what the hell?"
I
But
know.
then she immediately makes him hotter by calling him Griff, and you're like,
Well,
what's
wait.
happening?"
Well, wait. And also, like, right. Do we love that or do we hate it? I don't know.
I don't know how I feel, but, like, the only thing I was thinking about the whole time you were talking was, like, "His name
Griff.
is Griffin," and then you said Griff, and I was like, "Griff."
I know. Let me risk it all for Griff.
Let me risk it for Griff. Don't know if I love
Yeah.
it, but I love the way it makes me think.
Yeah. But I feel like I'll be kicking my feet and squealing while I read this. And that's really what I want. So,
Oh, absolutely. The escapism is perfect, and it gives like, your life can be a trope. Like, what happened to you gets to be a romance trope,
mhm.
and what a, like, joyful thing to experience.
So it's very fun. So I'm very excited about that one for sure.
I can't blame you. My next pick is from an author that I have, developed quite an enjoyment of. This is Project V by Park Sol-yeon. This will be out April 28th, so I'll be waiting. But this is from the author of A Magical Girl Retires. I know I talked about it endlessly the year that it came out because I love magical girl anime. I love magical girl manga. And it was such a good book. This is lit in translation, which I know Joe's always preaching about literature in translation. But something about the Korean writing style. When I finally got the chance to read A Magical Girl Retires, it is so different from any of the other styles I have read that I'm really excited to return to another author I already love. But also Park always has like an interesting twist. So I'll just dive into it. It's STEMinist mecha fantasy meets reality television in this high stakes novel from the author of A Magical Girl Retires, a wildly imaginative tale of sibling bonds, unexpected friendship, and an existential quest to understand what it means to be human. With that alone, we could like put the stamp on it right there. Like, no kidding, Joe wants to read this, even if I hadn't already loved it. There were so many of my buzzwords right in there. Robotics student Kim Woo Ram, runner up at the World Gigantic Mechanics Olympiad, is a world class pilot and engineer. Unlike many of her contemporaries, she likes working solo, preferring the company of robots to most other humans. Sought by robotics centers across the globe, she chooses to return to Korea after learning of an exciting new secret government robotic project known as V. To her disappointment, only male pilots are allowed to apply. Desperate for a chance to make history and encouraged by her twin brother Boram, the usual rule following Woo-ram makes a risky choice. Posing as her brother, she auditions for Project V. Oh, we've got like a she's the man moment here. Darn. The reality competition show whose winner will pilot the robot V, and quickly becomes one of the top contestants in both skill and popularity. She attracts fans and friends like Seo Jin, the world's youngest female writer and ardent Boram stan, and Jung Hoon, the clumsy but lovable underdog. She also gains a rival in Jin Young, the ruthless heir to a Korean corporate dynasty. As she becomes tantalizingly close to achieving her goal, she begins to realize that V's arrogant AI is a ticking time bomb. With victory within her reach and her identity at stake, will she destroy the robot of her dreams to save lives or stick to the script? Project V is a playful yet sharp meditation on some of the most pressing issues roiling modern society in Korea and across the globe: the male dominance in STEM fields, the ethics of parasocial idolatry, and our addiction to social media and reality television, and the perils of future times coming. Punchy and compelling, Park Seo-lan's novel is a winning exploration of ambition and creation, a quintessential novel of our present and future for mecha fans and all curious readers. So that is Project V by Park Sol-yeon, out April 28th. I think it sounds fun. I think it sounds compelling. The cover's so cute. Uh, I know. I'm typecasting myself. It's very me.
It sounds really fun and perfect for spring. I'm like,
Exactly.
I don't know. I feel like we're coming out of winter. Hopefully, we're
Gosh,
seeing the
I hope
sun.
so. I know.
You
It's
know,
y'all, it has been a long winter and I'm so ready for sunshine.
it really, 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 really has. Which I think is probably what drew me to, well, among other things, my next pick, which is Unbound by Peyton Corinne. You guys, I didn't do this on purpose. It's also out April 7th. I thought I had a better monthly
We
spread. It's
we don't
okay.
choose when the books come out. We just report on the news.
That's true. That is true. So this follows a college couple through first love, heartbreak, and the struggle to come together again. Again, I like romance for a reason. So we'll just dive right in. Paloma Blake is at best antagonistic, but beneath the hairspray, attitude, and promiscuity is a scared girl whose trauma runs deep. Still, the walls she's built are strong, ensuring everyone only sees Paloma's sexy facade. Everyone except for Bennett. Oh gosh, Joe, I love a romance name. Bennett Rainier.
Oh, wow. That's another
Rainer.
one.
Yeah, Bennett Rainer, I think. The carefully controlled neurodivergent goalie has his routines and sticks to them, which helps him keep a hold of his OCD compulsions and the crippling anxiety that comes with them. The quiet and meticulous Bennett sees everything, especially the girl beneath Paloma's ever-present masks, and he always has. Unbeknownst to their friends, Bennett and Paloma were each other's first real love, which ends in crippling heartbreak. Bennett still doesn't know what happened, and Paloma's determined to stay away from the comfort she used to find only in his arms. For years, Bennett remained her protective shadow, coming to Paloma's rescue whenever she asked and keeping her as close and safe as she'll let him. But like a tumultuous sea to a constant shore, Bennett and Paloma find each other once more. Alternating between scenes from their past and present, Unbound contrasts the tentative tension and passionate beginnings of first love with the devastating loneliness and deep yearning of having that love ripped away from you without truly knowing why. As Bennett discovers the truth about Paloma's past, the threads to his careful control start to come unbound, and both begin to realize that letting go of everything else might be worth it if it means they both get the real love they once shared again. Come on. Unbound by Peyton Corinne, out April 7th.
No,
Yes.
yeah, that's so cute. It's so you. Like
Yes.
I I love having you here for endless reasons, but the fact that
Thank you.
you can deliver romance like no one else, like
Oh, that's nice.
it's not my skill.
It's just so good. And,
Aw.
I know there are set formulas that get us to these situations and like ultimately to the end that we want. But what I do love about obviously all the different romance books is that the way that they get there, the delivery, the writing can certainly take many different paths. And so while this went exactly how I wanted it to go, I think the journey will be what's fun to read about. And I it just sounds so good. And also, I feel like relatable, certainly letting people see the real you, and then also having that sort of comfort zone person, without really addressing the what, the why, and all of that. It just sounds great. And the cover is very swoony.
I also love your point of just like you kind of find who you like in romance as you find your tropes, you find your authors, but then you also find kind of like a delivery system because that story told by a different author would go a totally different path.
Yeah,
Even though
exactly.
romance is made up of, similar beats and plot lines, it all depends on who's like baking the cake for how it turns out.
Exactly. But it just sounds so swoony. And again, the
Yeah.
cover looks lovely. So a win.
Can't go wrong with a good cover. Well, I kept hearing you say April 7th, so I'm going to bring you April 7th. This is a weird one, I'll put it that way. The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances by Glenn Dixon, out April 7th. In a near future where even the smallest of appliances are sentient, a young Roomba vacuum sends out to save the humans of her house from rising technological powers in this compelling original novel. In a self-running smart house, a young and sentient Roomba listens as her owner Harold reads aloud to his dying wife Edie. Mesmerized by To Kill a Mockingbird and craving the human connection she witnesses in Harold's stories, the little vacuum renames herself Scout and embarks on a journey of self-discovery. But when Edie passes away, Scout and her fellow sentient appliances discover that there are sinister forces in their midst. The omnipresent grid, which monitors every household in the city, seeks to remove Harold from his home, a place he has lived for 50 years. With the help of Adrian, a neighborhood boy who's grown close to Scout and Harold, as well as Kate, Harold, and Edie's formerly estranged daughter, the humans and the appliances must come together to outwit the all-controlling grid, lest they risk losing everything they hold dear. So again, that is The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances by Glenn Dixon, out April 7th.
Okay, but I like that that's quirky.
Right. I say weird books a lot, but usually that tends to be like from a horror or thriller, but when it's from a different perspective. So I love that this is more the like slice of life in a future world. It kind of to me is giving like 80s movie of we've got to save our dance hall. We've got to save our this, our that. It's like the expected meets the unusual.
No, I like that. And I think it sounds, I mean, a sentient Roomba.
Right. I
Like,
mean, thank you,
okay.
TJ Klune, for giving us In the Lives of Puppets that had that first.
Mhm.
But this is a completely different, where that led more sci-fi, this leads more that like human component.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think it sounds perfect.
It's also giving me Up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, a slight deviation for my next pick, finally. It's Go Gentle by Maria Semple. This is out April 14th.
All right,
Thank
a
you.
different date and a deviation.
And a
Emma, where
deviation.
have you
We
gone?
got here in the end. This is like literary fiction humor. So again, a little bit of a deviation. Although I do love everything Maria Semple's written. She's the author of Where'd You Go, Bernadette? Which was huge when that came out. So this follows Adora Hazard. I also like that her last name is Hazard. Adora Hazard has it all figured out. A stoic philosopher and divorcee, she lives a contented life on New York City's Upper West Side. Having discovered the secret to happiness is to desire only what you have, she's applied this insight to blissful effect. Relishing her teenage daughter, the freedom of being solo, and her job as a moral tutor for the twin boys of an old money family. She's even assembled a coven of like-minded women who live on the same floor in the legendary Insomnia and is making active efforts to grow its membership. Adora's carefully curated life is humming along brilliantly until a chance meeting with a handsome stranger. Soon, her ordered world is upended by black market art deals, secret rendezvous, and international intrigue, and her past, which she has worked so hard to bury, okay, so some common themes, lands like a bomb in her present. Inflamed by unquenchable desire, Adora finds herself a woman wanting more, and she'll risk everything to get it. Dun dun dun. So, okay, some common elements, but literary fiction
But don't
is
I
not
do the
my
same
normal.
thing? Yeah.
But Maria Semple's Go Gentle is out on April 14th.
We've gotta like find the things we love in it, because I'm with you. I don't oft go for a lit fic.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against it. It's just not usually my cup of tea. Or you and I being mood readers and having our genres, like we have found our subgenres, and literary fiction in most of what I see like blow up has it's like step back. It's like a little bit of everything sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think since we have niches that we live in, it can be hard to sometimes. I don't know.
No, I agree. But also sometimes, and this is fully not what you're supposed to do as a reader, is I do judge literary fiction or anything that's that's branded and deemed literary fiction as
So hard.
something that is too smart or too like literary. It's literature for what I'm looking for necessarily. And that is a rude assumption to make for most books because it's not always the case. But I will say when something is categorized as literary fiction, I do give pause because
I have to read that description
yeah,
extra thoroughly before I go,
exactly.
And I have learned in doing this show that a lot of times things get slated as lit fic because it wasn't quite full on horror. It wasn't quite full on this. It wasn't quite full on that. So we'll call it lit fic. And that also happens sometimes of like, I guess what I said at the beginning, but um, yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. But I
And I'm with you.
do,
We've talked
yeah.
so much about the canon. I tend to be like,
Well, and that
I don't know
too.
how much I believe in you, Mr. Canon.
I know, but I also think like when we study books in school and stuff, I think that natural proclivity to shy away from literary or classics because we were
Yeah.
forced to read so many books in school. I mean, of our own doing. I think it's just like a funny reaction I have when everyone's like, read this great literature. And I'm like, no,
I
I
already
don't
did. I
want
was like,
to.
right. I'm like, I did my time in the literature mines already. I'm good. But thanks for the thought.
Exactly.
So this is my last pick, and then I'm going to do a horror roundup after Emma's next pick because there are, of course, endless horror books I want to read, but I didn't want to hit you all quite so strongly with it. Oh, before I do that, what was the character's name? Adora Hazard.
Adora Hazard.
When you said that, my drag race fueled brain went drag name Adora Jar. Just had to get that out. Anyway, my next pick is Break Room by Mai Lee, and this will be out April 28th. It's a gripping and incisive psychological game show drama from one of the biggest stars in Korean fiction, author of million copy bestseller. I'm going to mention this book again because every time something relates to it, I tell y'all to read it. The Dallergut Dream Department Store. 8 unsuspecting people receive an invitation to participate in a new reality show called Break Room. But what starts as an opportunity for fame is quickly revealed to be something far more unsettling when they learn how they were chosen, voted in by the respective coworkers as the office villain. Among them is an imposter, a mole planted by the show's producers. The only way to win the prize money is to uncover the saboteur before time runs out. As alliances shift and paranoia festers, the contestants begin to realize that the true challenge isn't surviving the show, it's facing themselves. Welcome, step into the world of the reality show Break Room, where every smile hides suspicion and every word could be a clue. So again, that is Break Room by Mai Lee, out April 28th.
I do like a reality show premise.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
It's a good one. Like, I love that as a concept. And I think this is where I go back to, like, I'm very curious to how, like, the Korean population, like, since this is translated and coming to us from Korea, I want to see how they experience reality TV because I want to know how similar or dissimilar it is to what we have going on over here.
No, I agree. And I think that that's certainly a way to learn about something slightly different, but maybe in a format or style we might be familiar with.
Definitely.
My next pick. I just looked at the release date.
Oh no,
But
Emma.
at least you're getting all your books the first week of the month. So we're not making you wait. My next one is True to Form, The Name Game by Beth O'Leary. This is out April 7th. This Beth O'Leary is such a solid romance author. Her books are always chef's kiss. And I do enjoy that they're usually a UK-based setting. So Charlie couldn't be happier to take the job of farm shop manager on the remote wild isle of Ormer. She's grieving, a little lost, and in desperate need of a fresh start. Jones has come out of a difficult breakup and is looking forward to some peace away from the noise of his city life. Moving to Ormer couldn't have come at a better time. But when Charlie Jones and Charlie Jones both turn up at Ormer's one and only farm shop, claiming to have been offered the role of manager. Everyone is baffled. How could this have happened? And who is the real Charlie Jones? So the struggle, they both have the same name. Whoops. One goes by the first name, one goes by the last name. And they show up having landed the same job, moving to the same island. Are going to have to figure out what to do.
That's fun.
That's
fun, atmospheric.
The Name Game by Beth O'Leary is out April 7th.
Ooh, I love that. That's fun. I'm just going to quick give title, author, and release date for 3 horror books I cannot wait to pick up. All of these, when I was looking through my notes, I had already saved elsewhere in my phone of like, when this comes, you're going to want to read it. So first is The Caretaker by Marcus Kluwer. This is April 21st. I'm trying to think of the first book, but anyway, there's Morse code in this description. I want to translate it and see what it says. But yes, so very excited, looking forward to that. Then there is Molka by Monica Kim, April 28th. Monica wrote The Eyes Are the Best Part. Even if you haven't read it, you've seen it. It's eyeball in chopsticks. And then last is Odessa by Gabrielle Schur, out on the 21st as well. So 3 very different energies for these horror picks. If you want to see the full description, go right on ahead. They are linked in the episode notes, so you can check out all of these titles and put them in your favorite tags on Libby for what you want to try out on release date. So yes, 3 quick horror picks for y'all. Hopefully you'll forgive me not giving you full descriptions for the sake of giving you a few cheeky extra books.
I love that. I like a good roundup.
Thank you for joining me today.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me for April books.
Oh, anytime. Please come back anytime. Listeners, if you want to get a hold of me, you can send an email to bookloungebylibby@overdrive.com. Would love to hear your questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, future episode ideas. And if you like my sweatshirt, it says Booked All Weekend Tour. You can get that at plotthreadshop.com. Also linked in the description as I ungracefully get up and down. But it's so fun. Who doesn't love like a fun concert style shirt? So thank you all so much for joining us today. And as always, happy reading. You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in Overdrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonso. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.